Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want you to lean in close tonight. Lean in not just with your ears, but with your heart, saying, let me speak a truth that has the power to change the trajectory of your life if you'll only receive it. Tonight, I want to talk about something deceptively simple yet profoundly transformative. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of success. Now, I know you've heard that phrase before. It may have floated across your social media feed or appeared in a motivational poster somewhere. But I'm not here to quote cliches. I'm here to give you a revelation born from the trenches of experience, shaped by hard knocks and resurrections, delivered with the total authenticity of a man who's stumbled, fallen, and risen again more times than he can count. I want you to picture a child learning to walk. That little one takes a step, wobbles, falls face first onto the floor, and what do? They don't collapse into despair. They rise up, brush off their knees, reach out those tiny hands for balance, and try again. Over and over they persist. Fall 7 times, stand up 8. That's not some lofty proverb, it's biology. It's the very mechanism life designed in us to keep us moving forward. Yet somewhere along the way, we forget. We start to craft narratives in our minds that say, if I fall, that means I'm weak. That means I'm a failure. And so we shrink away from challenges instead of leaning into them. We settle for comfort instead of surrendering to growth. We become spectators of life instead of participants. But I tell you tonight, the child who falls and gets up is already on the winning side. Failure isn't a dead end, it's a detour, a classroom, a crucible that forges the steel of character. I remember early in my career, when I was fresh off the bus in a new city with nothing but a suitcase and a head full of dreams. I went to audition after audition, pouring my soul into monologues, believing with all my heart that this one would be the breakthrough. And then I'd get the call. Sorry, we're casting someone else. Or worse, no call at all. That kind of silence can rot your faith if you let it. I felt it in my bones. The sting of rejection, the ache of wonder. Am I good enough? Did I hear God wrong? But instead of turning back, I decided to turn inward to examine what I could learn from each no. I asked myself, what can this rejection teach me? How can this failure refine me? And with every setback, I grew stronger. I honed my craft. I deepened my empathy. I built resilience. And one day, those failures became the stepping stones to roles that brought me acclaim, roles that challenged me to a higher level of truth and vulnerability. Failure has a way of revealing what's really in your heart. When you stumble, you discover whether your pursuit is fueled by ego or by essence. If your dreams are shallow, built on the quicksand of pride, they'll collapse at the first tremor. But if your dreams are anchored in purpose, in passion, in a calling that transcends your own comfort, then failure will only dig those anchors deeper into the bedrock of your soul. Success, real success, doesn't begin when you win. It begins when you refuse to quit. Let me tell you something else. Failure humbles you. And humility is the mother of all virtues. I've seen people catapulted to fame on the back of one epic win, only to crash and burn because they forgot where they came from, who lifted them up, and what truly matters. But people who have lived through failure, people who have been laid flat, who have tasted the dust of defeat, carry a quiet dignity. They carry gratitude. They carry a fervor to honor the second, third, and 10th chances they've been given. They carry empathy for others who are still stumbling, and they become the bridge that helps lift them to their feet. I think of the greats, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the scientists, the civil rights leaders whose names we revere today. They didn't walk a straight line to triumph. Edison conducted thousands of unsuccessful experiments before he gave us the light bulb, famously saying, "I have not failed, I've just found 0 ways that won't work." Oprah Winfrey faced rejection from television stations early in her career, but instead of letting that define her, she channeled that pain into purpose and now she illuminates millions of lives. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, but his spirit remained unbroken, and his failure in the eyes of the state became the catalyst that brought freedom to a nation. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the proving ground where your destiny is tested and tempered. Now I know that failing can feel like a death. It can take your breath away, stop your heart, bludgeon your confidence. It can lead you to question your worth, your purpose, your very identity. But I want you to hear me tonight. God does not measure you by your mishaps. He measures you by your comeback. He measures you by your surrender to the process. He measures you by your refusal to let the noise of your failures drown out the voice of your calling. When you fall, that's not the end of the story. That's the moment you decide what the next chapter will be. I want you to think about where you are today. Maybe you're rocking in the shadows of your disappointments, replaying the what could have beens over and over in your mind. Maybe you're afraid to take the next step because you're haunted by the last fall. But let me declare this over your life. That chapter of defeat is closing. A new chapter is opening, one titled Courage, one titled Redemption, one titled Victory. But you have to choose to walk into it. You have to choose to rise. You have to choose to embrace the fact that failure is not your enemy. It's your teacher. There's a phrase I love, fall forward. When you stumble, do so with purpose. Every time you fall, let it be motion toward a greater vision. You learn more from a single setback than you do from 1,000 fleeting successes. A bird learns to fly by plunging into the air and trusting its wings. You learn to soar by daring to slip, to catch yourself, to open your arms wider. Failure gives you the data you need. It tells you what to tweak, what to refine, what to shed, what to keep. If you lean into it, you'll find that there is no such thing as wasted effort. There is only delayed fruit. Now, I want to remind you that you are not alone when you fail. You have people around you, mentors, friends, family, community who may have your back. Don't isolate yourself in shame. Instead, reach out. Say, I stumbled. I'm hurting. Will you help me up? There is courage in vulnerability. When you admit your failure, you invite connection, empathy, and collaboration. You build bridges instead of walls. And those people will walk with you through the pain, reminding you of your promise, propping you up when your knees are weak, rejoicing with you when your feet hit the path again. But ultimately, the greatest ally you have in failure is the voice within your spirit, your conscience, your divine spark. When that inner voice says you can't, override it with the bigger voice of possibility that says I will. That voice knows every scar you carry and every victory waiting to be claimed. That voice whispers, you were made for this. You were created to overcome. You were built to rise. Listen to that voice, louder than the echoes of your stumbles. Now, I could stand here tonight and list you 10 principles for overcoming failure, or I could quote you scripture after scripture. But I'll tell you what really matters. Your resolve. Your willingness to look fear in the eye and say, you will not define me. Your willingness to get back in the ring, lace up your gloves, and fight another round. Your willingness to pour your heart back into the dream that once lit you up, even if it feels dusty and faded. Your willingness to learn, to adapt, to grow, to evolve. That is the essence of success. Failure will always be part of the journey, but it will never be the final destination. So tonight, I want to leave you with a charge. Go out into the world tomorrow with the badge of failure pinned to your chest as a symbol, not of shame, but of strength. Wear it proudly, because it means you've dared greatly. It means you've shown up. It means you've taken risks. It means you've lived. And when you carry that badge, you'll step into every room with a measure of humility and a measure of confidence, a recognition that you can fall and you can rise and you will rise. And when you do rise, you'll light a fire in the hearts of those who've been sitting in the dark, waiting to be reminded that their failures are not final. You'll become proof that setbacks are setups for comebacks. you'll become the living testimony that God turns ashes into beauty, that He takes the broken and makes them brilliant, that He transforms our falls into flights. So go ahead, embrace failure as an integral part of your success. Let it school you. Let it sculpt you. Let it strengthen you. And never, never let fear of failing stop you from stepping out. Because every time you step, you move closer to the victory that was waiting on the other side of your courage. God bless you, keep you, and give you the faith to fail forward, fail well, and ultimately to succeed gloriously. If today's message touched something in you, don't stop here. Join God Bless You, our members-only space where inspiration runs deeper, lessons get real, and we grow stronger together. It's not just support, it's family, it's fire, it's faith,